So I've got myself some gin and tonic with lemon and a slice because, well, I needed the excuse to buy bottles for this, and gin and tonic, it just goes. It's a match made in heaven. Haha. Hello homebrewers, and welcome to my channel. So we have got the part 2, which is the bottling video of the wild elderflower that we started a couple of weeks ago now. So as you can tell, it's not frothy and mouldy, it actually worked. So adjusting the pH using the lemon juice and the lemons obviously really did help. It's actually been a really good fermentation. We have a nice yeast cake at the bottom, which I am going to save because, well, it's wild yeast. I like wild stuff. That's what we're all about. It's part of the name of my channel. So we're going to be bottling this up today, so hopefully I can get a decent picture to show you what this looks like. If everything went to plan, because I couldn't really see on my tiny screen, you will see a picture up there of the bubbles. I mean, they are quite small and they are quite slow. It's not finished fermenting yet, but it's pretty damn close. Good enough to bottle on a wild wine / champagne that we are not using any real brewing equipment for. So, because we're using wild yeast, there's not just wild yeast in here, there is also acetic acid bacteria or mother vinegar, a wild version. Now the only thing that's inhibiting its growth, because pH doesn't really do anything to it, is the CO2 from the yeast. If this got exposed to oxygen for any length of time, like this stopped, dropped out and got air in there, it would start culturing vinegar, which would give it a more sour taste. That's where you get some of the old school ancient history sour beers and things like that. But we don't want that, so while it's still just above finishing, we're going to bottle it up and add some extra carbonation to stop that from happening. So what we're going to need to bottle this up, mostly what you have around the house. The only thing that you don't really have is a bit of PVC pipe. But I put that in the first video. I got 2 meters of this thin stuff, which is thinner than the normal siphoning tube that you buy, because you get more control with a smaller tube. Bigger batches, bigger tube. But it's all pretty straightforward. This cost me 30p a meter, so I picked up a couple of meters. It's better to have it too long than too short. So I've got myself a funnel, I have myself a measuring spoon. Now, it's not really necessary, you can use a teaspoon, it just happens to be, I have them, so I'm going to use them. I'm using a peg as my holder for my tube, and I've also got some sugar. So, since this is not quite finished, it is nearly finished, but not quite. It's somewhere, I don't know, around 4, maybe 5%-ish. Ish is a good word. I'm going to be using plastic bottles. The reason I'm using plastic bottles is that if you're looking at this video with no brewing equipment whatsoever, there is a big chance that you could mess up with the sugar and it could explode if you put it into glass. So plastic bottles are a lot better because you can feel when they're ready, so to speak. So everything has been sterilized using thin bleach, not thick bleach, not scented bleach. It is just thin, cheap, nasty bleach. It's actually really good for what it is. Now everything has been rinsed so it doesn't smell of bleach anymore. That's a really good sign to know when it's all finished. So I'm going to prime my bottles, which just means add the sugar. The reason I'm adding sugar is 1, to add some extra carbonation, and 2, because these are going to be chucked in the fridge once the bottles feel just right. So they'll keep residual sweetness in there, so there's no need to add sweetener to it. So I need my funnel, and I'm adding in 7.5 mils. Yeah, 7.5 mils, which is half a tablespoon. So a teaspoon and a half of sugar into that one. And I'm just going to continue and do them with the rest. So every bottle has got 7.5 mils of sugar in there. That should leave enough residual sweetness for the elderflowers not to taste bitter. It does happen, but at the same time, sweetness is good. Otherwise you need to age it for a while. And yeah, we want this to be quick and easy and tasty, which is what we all like. So now it's time to set up the siphon. Chuck it in, find a space, stick the peg on. It's just a really good hands-free device. Nice and simple. You can buy them, but at the same time, a peg is really cheap. So now create my siphon. Stick your thumb over it so it doesn't move anywhere, and then just chuck them in the bottles. So since this is a small siphon tube, it's going to take a little while to fill these bottles up. So I'm not going to bore you with that. I'll just come back once these are all filled. See you shortly. So siphoning is complete, and I have the crud left in the bottom, looking lovely. I also have 4 litres of pre-bottled, ready to carbonate elderflower champagne, and I also have a cheeky glass of it now because, well, I've got to. So let's see how this tastes as it is. Oh, that's really nice. So it's got the elderflower in there, which, funny enough, elderflower has a slightly bittering taste if it isn't sweetened, but at the same time, it's still beautiful. That's good. It's got a nice citrus head to it, and it's got some carbonation in there. It's very drinkable. In fact, I'm going to drink this. Oh, that's good. That is going to be lovely when it's sparkling and ice cold. So, since I am basing this on that no one who makes this recipe knows what they're doing, basically I'm going to show you a little trick to tell you when these bottles are ready. So you can push the bottles. I mean, these are, as you can see, they're pretty squelchy. But I'm just going to go grab another bottle from something else I've done, and I'm going to show you something so you know when this is ready to put in the fridge. So this is one of my beers. It's actually called the Simply Improved Beer Kit, and it is carbonated. Now, it's all done measured and using hydrometers, so it's all pre-done, so you don't have to worry about it, unlike these where we don't quite know what's going on. But the best way how to tell if your bottle is ready to put in the fridge is give it a flick. So hopefully you can hear this. Sounds like a drum. It's got a nice sort of ring to it, a bit like a drum, whereas this one, it's kind of dull. It's kind of dull and squishy, where this one, not that much give. Got to really give it a push. So, dull. There you go. So that is a kind of like little cheeky get around if you're not quite sure. Now when you put this in the fridge, it will stop fermenting within about an hour or so. So nice cold fridge, this will be lovely. So I'll be back once it makes this lovely noise. But I'm also going to be collecting my wild yeast. So I've got myself a sterilized jam jar. Take all this stuff out. I don't need that. Give it a swirl to get the yeast cake. Mmm, tasty. And I can also put this in my fridge and wash the yeast, which will be another video. So, I really hope you enjoyed this video, found it useful and helpful, and of course, have yourself some elderflower champagne, because I'm going to. So don't forget to comment, rate, like, share, and of course subscribe. And I'll catch you in another video. Cheers, guys.